Good afternoon. My name is James Zabrowski, and I serve as the Managing Director for Collegiate Entrepreneurs Organization. Today, we are launching our inaugural annual membership meeting. The purpose for today's discussion is to help all of our new leaders that are transitioning into leadership roles within Collegiate Entrepreneurs Organization on their respective campus to do two things. One, to completely understand the resources and the benefits that come with a Collegiate Entrepreneurs chapter, as well as learn new tips and tricks as to how to be a successful student organization leader. So we really hope that you interact with us throughout this conversation. Feel free to utilize Twitter and our hashtag, annual CEO MTG. I will be monitoring any questions that come across, and we're happy to make this somewhat of a discussion for you. Today with me we have two in our leadership individuals with Collegiate Entrepreneurs Organization and a vice president with us from the University of Tampa, where we're actually headquartered. But before I go into these introductions, I just want to thank everybody for joining us. As I said, this is the first time that we're doing it, so we definitely invite any feedback that you have, and we certainly welcome all of you to join us in this conversation. So first, I'd like to introduce our executive director. Giles Hertz serves as the Executive Director and President of Collegiate Entrepreneurs Organization. Giles has been with the organization as a faculty advisor for about 18 years. That was at several different institutions during his tenure as a professor. Giles is also very into student organization development and has done a tremendous amount of back-end work and legal practice to get the organization up to a really strong standing. So Giles has a few remarks that he'd like to talk about on the overall success of the organization. Before I bring up Giles, I'd just like to introduce Becky Gann. Becky is the chair of Collegiate Entrepreneurs Organization Corporate Board. So she oversees the success of the corporation as a whole, and we're happy to have you with us as well, Becky. So Giles, you're up.
Thank you, James, and welcome everybody to the inaugural membership meeting of the Collegiate Entrepreneurs Organization. James mentioned that I'd been a faculty advisor for 18 years. I just want to make clear that I started when I was 10 years old as a faculty advisor. As I normally like to do when I have a chance to talk about CEO, I always like to take a little brief look back at our history. And I think some of you may know and some of you may not know that the foundation for what is now the Collegiate Entrepreneurs Organization was laid almost over 40 years ago. And CEO in its current configuration celebrates its 35th year of existence this year. And I think that's a remarkable achievement for a nonprofit organization whose mission is to encourage college students to be entrepreneurial through new venture creation. And of course, that's due to the tireless efforts and continued support from our organization's founders, Dr. Jerry Hills and Mr. John Hughes. And we should never forget, as an organization, those that envisioned this organization and worked tirelessly to build a successful organization that we now call the Collegiate Entrepreneurs Organization. So once again, thanks Jerry Hills and thanks John Hughes for your tireless efforts to make this organization what it is today. So thanks for that. As James mentioned in my introduction, I have been a faculty advisor for different CEO chapters for approximately 18 years. About 9 years or so at Northern Kentucky University, which is a smaller university 6 miles south of Cincinnati, Ohio, and most recently for the last 9 years here at the University of Tampa. If you attended the 2017 conference this year in Tampa, I mentioned the fact that in 2016 I assumed the position of executive director when our long-term and serving founder, Jerry Hills, stepped down from that role. And we also moved CEO's corporate headquarters here to the University of Tampa from its original location in Illinois. At this time, I'd like to thank the University of Tampa for its generous financial support and in-kind donation of space and equipment. We are housed here at the Loth Entrepreneurship Center on the campus of the University of Tampa. And if in the next year or so when you visit the international conference, I hope you have a chance to visit this beautiful facility that we call home here. I'm going to keep my remarks fairly brief because some of my stuff is not so exciting and I know some of the more interesting things are to follow. So I just wanted to highlight some of the successes from the corporate office this past year. And the first thing I wanted to mention was the success of the 2017 International Conference that was held here in Tampa. I hope you had an opportunity to attend. If not, I hope that you're able to attend next year. We had approximately 800 attendees representing more than 50 chapters, and it was really a great experience. We had some great keynote speakers, Craig Dubitsky, the founder and CEO of Hello Products. You might have seen their lip balm at the checkout counter. They're an international corporation, and Craig did a great job. Scott Peoples, the CEO and co-founder of PeerFit, and John Shigarian, founder of ERI, the world's largest electronic recycling company. In addition to those keynotes, we had 6 actually, in addition to the keynotes, we had over 50 subject matter experts on a variety of topics. So if you've never attended a national conference, now international conference, because CEO is international, I really strongly encourage you to attend. I also wanted to mention the success of our regional conferences, and we have 5. SEEC, or SEEC, which is held at the University of Chattanooga, MWEC, held at the University of Nebraska-Omaha, Be Unique at Bryant University, the Values and Ventures Conference at TCU, and SESI, SESI, at Eastern Michigan University. And if you're in those regions, I strongly encourage you to attend those regional conferences as well. Great learning takes place, and it fills in a little gap in between the international conference. Getting more some of the back office activities, which are not all that exciting, but important for the strength and vitality of our organization, I wanted to mention the fiscal soundness of CEO. For a few years, we struggled financially, but over the last several years, we've really built a fiscally sound organization. The 2017-2018 fiscal year, CEO recognized a 59% improvement in net income. We also have been working really hard, James and the rest of the back office, in seeking funding in addition to our chapter revenue from various funding sources. And James, through his hard work, was successful in helping us to receive the Chick-fil-A True Inspiration Award and a grant of $30,000 from the Chick-fil-A Foundation. We were only one of 3 national organizations to receive the Chick-fil-A Award, and we're really proud of that accomplishment. And I'm really proud of James and his hard work in bringing this needed funds to the organization. The back office is also currently seeking grants from the Walmart Foundation and the Delta Airlines Foundation, and I think we'll be successful working towards those. So that was a fiscal soundness report, and I think we're in good shape. Our fiscal coordinator does a great job, and our books are in really good shape. So fiscally, I think we're doing really well. We've also had great growth in our central office. We have currently hired or at least an offer has been made to a new membership coordinator, and hopefully we're going to be, he'll be accepting that position. Despite that, the lack of assistance for James in that area, we had a 27% increase in active chapters. So we're growing, but I think our new membership coordinator will relieve some of the load that James is working on these days and allow James to work in some other areas and as we continue to grow our organization. And I think, it's worth noting that one of the really important things for our chapters is the strength of the national headquarters and the value of being part of a large organization and the benefits that brings. And so as we continue to build the organization, I think that benefits all of our individual chapters as well. And I'm confident that our new membership coordinator will help in that effort. In anticipation of the organization becoming more international, CEO has joined the ranks of many high-tech companies in becoming compliant with the new European Union GDPR rules, and that's designed to protect all of our members' data. So without getting into any detail, we've taken additional steps to protect your data that we store for you on our membership platform. We're also currently hiring a new financial administrator. Ellie Roach has been with us for several years, and I think she's looking forward to doing something else, finding a new chapter in her life, and so we've been hiring that. So if you have an interest or know someone who has an interest in working with CEO's national headquarters in the Tampa area, please take a look at our website where we have that position posted. Finally, I just wanted to make a mention of improvements to the website, and they are fantastic, and I'll leave the details of those improvements to James. And my last remark, I just wanted to encourage each and all of you to attend this year's international conference in Kansas City, Missouri, and I think it's going to be a great one. And I also encourage you to put on your calendar the 2019 International Conference to be held back here in Tampa at the Marriott Waterfront Hotel, which is an absolutely beautiful venue. So enough from the back office, and I'd like to turn the program back over to James.
Thank you, Giles. I appreciate that. And up next, I'd really like to welcome Stephanie RussellKrebs. Stephanie comes to us from the University of Tampa. She serves as the Vice President for Student Affairs, and she is the Dean of Students. I remember when I was a student here at UT working with Stephanie as I was a two-term chapter president at the University of Tampa for CEO. And she has lots of inspiration and motivation that she provides to our student leaders. So I do hope that you will heed her suggestions in terms of student organization development. I think at UT we have over 250 different organizations, and of course they range in size, as do all of our CEO chapters. So we completely understand this is not a one-size-fits-all, but we do encourage our chapters to take the opportunity to work with the resources that we provide to you and make them your own, since you know your institution best. So, Stephanie, thanks for joining us.
Sure. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, James, for including me in this conversation. As Giles introduced that he had been at the university, 18 years, or advising a chapter, 18 years. I've been at the University of Tampa for 20 years, so if he started when he was 10, I probably started when I was in my mother's womb. So I've been here a long time at the University of Tampa, and prior to serving as the Vice President for Student Affairs and Dean of Students, I served for many years in the Office of Student Leadership and Engagement, working with student organizations. And that really is definitely my passion area. I was on campus this morning, and I was at orientation leader training and resident assistant training, and all the students were back, and there was so much energy and an excitement. And I was thinking about last week when students weren't back on campus, that the Dean of Students, when students aren't around, is the Dean of nothing. And so it is so wonderful to have some purpose back with students back, and even with all of you virtually now, thinking about your development and your role with the students that you will inspire on your campuses through your involvement in CEO. I've been or known about CEO and been involved in different ways on our campus with the student group, and just remembered early on hearing about this CEO group and hearing, I would hear about lots of different student organizations. As James mentioned, we have over 250, but there was something very specific about this group that was exciting and unique. And I remember trying to kind of put my finger on it. And what I found over time was that there was such a connection to the passion area and the mission of the organization, that students that were in this group really were so engaged with the direction of the group, the goal, and that created this bond that really did great things on our campus. So got to see them kind of grow and flourish under Giles and James' leadership, and then was able to participate in an international conference 2 years ago, maybe, and was happy to engage maybe with some of you, I don't know, from other campuses. And again, that energy and enthusiasm that I think comes with the entrepreneurial spirit was really clear, and I think sets your organizations kind of apart from other organizations and gives you an edge, because what you are organizing around is something that is really motivating and forward thinking. So James reached out to me to see if I could provide just some tips on good student leadership practices. That's kind of a broad topic, so I was thinking about how to tackle it. And so I've just broken it down into 3 very hopefully simple things that you can think about and remember when you get off this call and are with your members. So I have 3 C's for you, the letter C, and it is connect, cultivate, and capitalize. So thinking about in your organizations and as a student leader, how you connect, cultivate, and capitalize. So we're going to break it down. We're going to recap it, and then you can take it back to your organizations and adapt it. All of your campuses and your organizations are clearly very different. So thinking about connection, and how are you connecting your members from the onset? This is such an exciting time on college campuses, as campuses are gearing up with orientation, and new students are primed to want to be involved with things they are passionate about. And they're coming to our campuses and seeing a smorgasbord. Everything is out there for them, and they're trying to figure out what tastes good. And so you are trying to help them figure out what tastes good, and hopefully that will be CEO, but you need to connect them to your organization. And so that starts with your recruiting. And when you're recruiting your members, you know, you really want to be very transparent about your organization values and mission, so people know what you are about. You may have some, you know, high schoolers that might be really creative thinkers and they've not ever thought of themselves as an entrepreneur. But when you break down what your mission is and you talk about what you like to do and how you like to spend their time, maybe that's something that they would be excited about. And so how do you connect them with what you are about? And that starts with first you understanding and really knowing what you're about, which I think today's meeting is really great because I know James is going to give you more nuts and bolts as to the mission and everything that CEO is about. But you have to be that kind of beam of light that translates that to the masses, that makes people want to be attracted to your organization. So you're recruiting them, you're doing values-based, organizational-based, transparency, so they know what you're about. So now let's say you've got them excited, they're pumped, they want to be, you know, they want to be drinking the juice that you are. And then you want to think about how do you connect them to each other. So they're connected to your organization, but now they need to also be connected to each other. Because for most people in life, and not just in student organizations, but in anything, people want to spend their time with people that they like. You know, I like spending time with Giles, so we were advisors for student government together for many years. You know, that relationship piece of finding a connection point with those that you work with is important. And as leaders, you have to help your new members find those points of connections. You can't just put them all in a room and expect that to organically happen. So what types of activities are you doing that are get to know you activities or icebreakers or social capital, whatever you like to call it, that gets people to know each other personally and connecting them to each other. So you've connected them to your organization. You've connected them to each other. Now you have to think about, you know, why does CEO exist on a college campus? Why isn't, this could be a community organization, but it's not. These are collegiate chapters. So you really have an obligation to connect them to your campus because these organizations make our campuses better, because they make our students stronger. They make all of you stronger in the classroom for the professors that you're working with. And so you have an obligation to connect them to your institution. And I would encourage you to do that by thinking about how does the mission of CEO align with the mission of your institution. I guarantee you that there are connection points there. And so to help bring your members along. So now you have them fully connected. You've connected them to your organization, you've connected them to each other, and you've connected them to your campus. So I'm imagining you all out there, and I see you're nodding, and you have gotten the C. If you have any questions, I know James is monitoring the Twitter, so, or if you have an idea of something that you do on your campus, you can tweet that, and we can share it with others. So moving on to the second C is cultivate. So your members are connected, but you need to continually cultivate them. Sometimes it can be easy that you spend so much time in the recruitment phase of getting members that once you get them, you're like, whew, got them. But then they're not staying engaged throughout the process, so you could have people drop off. You could also have people that are members on paper, put it on their resume, but when they're in a job interview and people are asking questions, you know, what competencies did you learn from being part of CEO? They haven't really engaged in anything, and so that experience that you're hoping could be transformational for them hasn't really reached that mark. So you have an obligation, an ongoing obligation, to cultivate them. And so, what are some ways that you can do that? First, I would encourage you to think about what are the resources that you have on campus. Who is your advisor? I'm sure many of you have strong, skilled advisors that are passionate about your cause, that hopefully you meet with regularly to kind of strategize about your organization. I'm sure your campuses have offices like we do. Ours is called the Office of Student Leadership and Engagement. On other campuses, it might be the Student Activities Office. And then also, if you're housed in an academic department as well, you have resources there. But figuring out who are some resources on your campus that if you're looking at officer training and transition and planning events, or looking at doing, developmental sessions in your meetings, if you're looking at how do you do icebreakers ongoing and you need ideas, kind of seeking out what resources that you have, and thinking about your onboarding process, whether you do an extended first meeting or you do a retreat, something either, off campus. Often I have found with student organizations has been helpful in getting them started and going. Many student organizations sometimes will do a service project together, and that has been helpful in getting people kind of bonded and thinking about connecting them to their community. And then really thinking about how that ongoing cultivation is happening. So in your meetings, I've been part of student organization meetings serving as an advisor for many groups, and it's like two extremes. You come to the student organization meeting, you have a 10-minute meeting, everyone's so excited, just get it over with, you're gone. Or you have an hour-and-a-half meeting where people drone on and on and on about nothing, and you're there and people are frustrated because you've had a long meeting and you haven't accomplished anything. In both cases, you're going to lose members, either way. And so you want to think about, I always encourage student organizations to think about, you want to have a purposeful meeting. For every meeting that you have, what is the learning outcome? What do you want students to gain from that meeting? So what's your objective? Set it for every meeting. And then what are your action steps during that meeting to accomplish that? And then what is the interactive, engaging portion of that meeting? And if you kind of have that formula and keeping it to a time frame that is predictable, whether it's an hour for you or whatever that might be, so people find a lot of value in going to those meetings. I think is really important. And thinking about, as you're cultivating your members, you should know what the strengths are of your members. And there are different tools that on many campuses, again, you might have access to. You might have access to be able to have members do some type of assessment to analyze their strengths. Career Services often offers different types of assessment tools that help people learn about the members of their organizations, but figuring out what are the strengths of each of your members, and then capitalizing on those strengths. So you want to think about the cultivation part of your members as ongoing, continuing, and thinking about almost like stairs. And so your members, we're going upstairs. We're continually adding more engagement, more development for them as they're part of your groups, and that's going to keep them coming back. And ultimately, that's what you want. You want to keep them coming back. So, going back to the first C, you've connected them, you've cultivated them. Now, what the heck do you do with them? You want to capitalize on that. You then want to use all of this to advance your organization, to advance CEO, which will advance all of you while you're at college and beyond. So to capitalize on this, thinking about making sure that your organization has goals, that are SMART goals, which I'm sure you all have heard that term, that they're specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. You need to have goals for your group, because otherwise you're just kind of floating in the air. And you need to have objectives and a plan for achieving those goals, and then knowing what will it look like when you've got there. You know, so even I encourage organizations to kind of start with the end. Think about, you know, what will it look like, and then what do you need to do to get there, so you can capitalize on the energy that you have. But you can only do that if you're pretty strategic about setting some type of metric for your student organization to know that you've been successful. And again, your advisors are great resources for that. Even some of your professors, because you might be learning about setting SMART goals in some of your classes. And so thinking about student organization membership should complement what you're learning in the classroom. It is your education out, you know, it is kind of, in my world, you need both. And you really want to get the broadest education you can, you want to connect them. So if you're a marketing major, you need to be thinking about what you're learning in your marketing class and then using that in CEO. If you are a journalism major, same thing. And I guarantee you, every major, you can find a connection. And especially with the creative thinkers in this type of group, you absolutely should be able to think about that connection. So you've used all of this to capitalize and to advance your organization forward. While you're doing all of this, one caveat is you always want to be thinking about, especially for the presidents that are on this call, who are you cultivating that is going to be you when you move on? That's probably one of the biggest pitfalls that I've seen in working with student organizations over the last 20 years. You have a stellar group. They're awesome. They are so awesome. They're just focused on being awesome that everybody graduates and they haven't thought about who's going to be awesome after them. And then it's just boom, straight down. And then it'll go like this, and then straight up, and then straight down. And you do not want that to be you. You know, this is your legacy. You know, James was a 2-term president of CEO here as a student. It would be heartbreaking for them to see the group then take a nosedive. And so thinking about what are those steps, what are those things you're putting in place through all of those that connect, cultivate, and capitalize on your members that are following you, and having some really good succession planning. And it is not too early to start doing that now. You know, the first week of school, don't wait until after spring break and be thinking about, okay, who's gonna, you know, be in leadership next. So to be thinking about those things. So your C's, super easy: connect, cultivate, capitalize. But I felt that I had to give you one bonus. So I'm going to give you one bonus C. And I was trying to make something work. I was brainstorming with my husband and an 11-year-old. And the closest I could come to was cut loose. But as a dean of students, I'm not really supposed to tell people to cut loose, because that can be interpreted in lots of different ways. So do not retweet that the dean of students said cut loose. Cut loose in the context of people are part of student organizations because they're a lot of fun. I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, you're accomplishing things, you're doing this great stuff, you're making yourself a better leader, and this is going to lead to a better job for you. I truly believe all of that. And you need to have fun while you're doing it. And so figuring out how you, in a safe and appropriate and making good choices, Dean of Students hat way, are having social connection with your members and having fun and weaving that throughout, because then that will make everything else so much better for your students, and they're going to want to stay engaged with you. And when they come back for alumni reunions and things, they're going to be, you know, looking for their buds from CEO and connecting with their faculty members and all of that. So that was my words of wisdom. One thing I would love to tell all of you, if you go to the University of Tampa website and you ever want to send me an email about anything student organization wise, if you're looking for some resources for icebreakers or anything like that, or having an issue within your organization and just kind of want to have an outsider's perspective, you can just type in Dean of Students on the University of Tampa website. It'll get you to my email, and feel free to reach out to me at any time, because supporting student leaders to me is the greatest part of working on a college campus. And I wish you the best. Everybody go to your conference and have a good start of the year.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. That was really fantastic. And I love what you said primarily about connecting back with your university or college. And that is what we call e-diffusion, in which we focus on, that's right, entrepreneurial diffusion across campus. But we try and encourage our chapters to look at the wide variety of students that are on their campus, creatives, business minds, what have you, and create partnerships. And of course, too, a lot of these institutions now have entrepreneurship centers. They have academic programming in entrepreneurship, and not limiting themselves to just that space and utilizing other resources across campus. A good example is the library with all of their statistic and research information in terms of putting together a feasibility analysis for your company or anything of the like. So I know you have to run, and I want to thank you so much for joining us today. And Giles, I think you have to go as well. You're welcome to stay, of course, as long as you'd like. But this is the part of the talk where I'm actually going to dive into the specifics of Collegiate Entrepreneurs Organization and why we actually work in the way that we do and the way that we design CEO. So this is what I like to call our chapter success pillars document. As with all of our resources, this is available on our website, and I'll talk to you later on in the conversation about how to access that. But what we're going to go through today is the general functions of a CEO chapter in terms of a foundation, the 3 types of meetings that you should host, and your executive team leadership. So what do I mean by all of that? As Stephanie just said with her words of wisdom, which I thought were just fantastic, it is very clear that there are many different ways to run a student organization. And while we do want this to be an opportunity for you as an entrepreneur and you as a leader on your organization campus, this absolutely should be an entrepreneurial venture for you and your students. So there is a tremendous amount of takeaways that you can absorb from the Success Pillars document, and I'm going to dive into them right now. So starting with the foundational goal of Collegiate Entrepreneurs Organization on your campus, a very strong CEO chapter centers themselves around what we like to call a chapter common goal. And as Stephanie said, she talked about this a little bit, your chapter common goal can really be anything. A lot of our chapters launch businesses. Bryant University has several different nonprofits that they operate. The University of Tampa used to host a Southeast Entrepreneurship Conference. Now that's at the University of Tennessee, Chattanooga. The overall objective of this is to truly center your students around one common goal and one major takeaway. And what we find when you actually establish a successful chapter common goal is that your organization begins to become more of a community centered around one entrepreneurial idea. And you could be solving a problem for your campus. You could even be doing consulting for local startup ventures. As those startup ventures are launching businesses or coming up with new products, our CEO students can act as ideators and innovators for that particular company. So keep a very open mind on what your chapter common goal is going to look like, because this is really going to drive any and all of your objectives throughout the academic year. One major takeaway for this is, of course, the overall thought process of how are we going to make ourselves aware on campus? How are we going to make sure that our students, regardless of major or academic focus, are aware that we exist, that we as Collegiate Entrepreneurs Organization at XYZ institution are here to create relationships and provide guidance to all of our students across campus, regardless of discipline. And one great way to do that is to center your chapter common goal around simple awareness. So you're putting together groups of students that are going to act as recruiters. Maybe they're going to classrooms to talk about the overall takeaway of what it means to be a CEO member and how you can actually take advantage of that. You're also creating tabling events, you're hosting social events in open areas across campus, you're creating networking opportunities, you're involving other organizations to be a part of yours, and you're really creating these relationships that are going to transcend you as a leader. So I know we have a lot of new CEO leaders on the call today, and I want to congratulate you on your new position. Our major takeaway, just as Stephanie said, is to support you. And at the end of the day, if you have to pick up the phone and give us a call, we're here to help. So our main objective from all of this is for you to know that we've been there and we've done this. So we really want you to reach out to us if you're experiencing challenges. Also, right at this time, I'd like to talk about the overall document here and all the resources that we provide you. As you know, this is meant to be an entrepreneurial venture, and this is not a one-size-fits-all organization. So you do have to utilize a lot of the thought process around how can I adapt what CEO is providing to us to make it more interactive and more fitting for my campus. We have some chapters that operate on campuses that have no more than 500 to 1,000 students. And we have other chapters that touch 30 to 40,000 students. So it's a great way to just know that it does work on all sizes, but this is something that you do have to massage and make it your own for it to become a success. So chapter common goal, make sure you're all working on one major objective throughout the year. In terms of the 3 types of meetings that we like to host, and I'm going to take a sip of water here in a second. The first meeting is what we like to call a general achievement meeting, and this is where you and your students are actually coming together for the first time. You're setting yourselves up into committees, and you're creating this opportunity for individuals to connect. So what do I mean by all of that? Well, the general achievement meeting is quite simple. You start the meeting with what we call 5 minutes of new. So this is where you actually have one student from your organization talk about the success that they're recently experiencing. So why are you launching your business? I want to talk about my business idea. I need feedback on my business idea. I'm involved with another organization and we have an engagement opportunity for our members. Maybe I'm volunteering this weekend at a local garden and I could use all of your help. But 5 minutes of new is a great way for your members to really showcase each other and get to know one another on a more professional level and share the message of what you're trying to convey. So that would be the first thing that you do. The second type of conversation that you're going to run in your general achievement meeting is a simple, no more than 5 to 10 minute conversation from your Vice President of Community Development. Now, this individual is responsible for networking across your campus and within the general community. So a lot of our chapters operate in areas in which you're able to have a metropolitan area that you can network with and business professionals that you can participate with. So this is a great opportunity for you to go out into the community, connect with the local community, and showcase yourselves as successful entrepreneurs. I know everybody joins student organizations, especially business organizations, primarily as resume boosters. So if you want CEO to mean anything to any of the individuals that would potentially be hiring you, you have to be active in your local community. So keep that in mind and make sure that that's top of mind. So that would be the second thing that you would do in that meeting. And the third is just going to be general announcements from your leader. That could be a speaker of the assembly or the president or vice president of your organization, however you choose to be structured. But the final component, and this is what I think is the most valuable, is where you break up into groups and you actually work with all of your members in the organization to achieve your common goal. So it becomes a working meeting at this point, and your executive team will act as kind of recruiters for each individual area that they focus. So you might have somebody focus on membership, you'll probably have another focus on marketing, maybe a cross-campus engagement. There's a wide variety of opportunities to excel in the overall development of your executive team, and we'll continue to talk about that. But you want them to feel supported, and this is kind of unique here because in a lot of ways, we're programmed to be as efficient and as quick as possible in all areas. And 9 times out of 10, when you're tasked with a group project or you're tasked with a group assignment at your job, you say, man, I wish I could just do this on my own because it'd be so much easier. Well, you really have to think in terms of preparing other students for success. So not only is your executive team responsible for navigating the waters and helping your students succeed, but they are also responsible for training and bringing everybody up to speed as to how they operate in their position, and in terms of succession planning, like Stephanie was saying, thinking about potential new leaders for the organization. So when they're all working together and they're achieving goals, so for example, let's say it's a marketing committee, they may be focused on putting together a volunteer list. They'll be focused on finding different classes that might be a good fit for the CEO chapter to present themselves in. Just thinking in those terms of being able to create those relationships with others on campus, being able to create the relationships with your current membership, and bringing it full circle when you're actually in a position and able to start relying on your student members to build something for your organization. And that is key, because once they start to say, man, I put that email together, and because of that email, there's 65 students at this meeting, and we have a really awesome speaker. So, you know, Johnny set up the speaker, and I set up the email, and everybody else was involved, and now I feel a sense of ownership. And I feel as though I want to continue to grow this organization. Ownership is key, and it's going to keep all of your members engaged. So utilizing that mindset of ownership is really, really important. Now, secondly, the second type of meeting that you should host throughout the academic month is a social function. So Stephanie said, you know, you want to check out a little bit, you want to hang out, have fun. Of course, we encourage that as well. And this could be as simple as a profit sharing night at a local restaurant, which is a great fundraiser for your organization, enabling you to do other things like provide some type of funding for your business ventures. You might also be able to attend the global conference on a little bit of a discounted price per student, but just trying to find new ways to fundraise for the organization is always very key. So it could also be as simple as going to a classroom, preparing some refreshments and some food, maybe some takeout, and live streaming Silicon Valley from HBO. We're just really trying to pull the plug here on the overall mindset of entrepreneurs being business all day long, because that's just not the case. We believe that we see very interesting creative minds that come from the engineering department, maybe the arts department on campus. And unfortunately, while they are in an academic area that creativity is very, very important and very strongly related to their curriculum, they don't necessarily have the footprints or the pathway to providing guidance to how they should launch a business with their ideas that they're developing. However, on the other side of that, you typically have a college of business that is chock full of students that are very interested in running some type of venture, but they may not be as creative. And that's where the entrepreneurial degree and the entrepreneurial organizations that we're a part of and that we cultivate on your campus really come into play. So utilizing this social function as a great networking exercise, an overall understanding of how you operate, and just being a group of students that are entrepreneurial, like-minded. They definitely want to be a part of something bigger than themselves, and they want to help see something grow that they were able to take ownership of. Now it all starts to come together. So the ValueAdd Workshop, or the speaker series, is the final type of event that we want you to focus on throughout the year. And this is a great opportunity for you to do two things. One, to find alum from your campus that are engaged and are, or may not be engaged, but have seen some success. By doing this and re-engaging that alum, that maybe has launched a business or is in a very entrepreneurial field on in their corporate journey throughout life. These individuals can become donors and engaged mentors, entrepreneurs in residence, a wide variety of ways that they can give back to your organization, maybe even an advisory board member, but they can help make connections for you and help bring up the overall image of your organization. So when you invite these alum or these successful business professionals from the community, you want to think in terms of, hey, what's their message going to be to our students? And we want that to be motivational, inspirational. We want that to be exciting. Hey, this was my entrepreneurial venture. This was the idea that I had, or hey, I had no idea I was going to be an entrepreneur, but this is how I got there. That motivation and inspiration is going to do wonders for your membership. And in ways that we can't even begin to describe, it changes lives. So these, when you have the opportunity to host a speaker series, think in terms of how you're going to coach that speaker to provide that guidance to your students. If you know of somebody that's majorly recognizable, but maybe not the world's best speaker, feel free to do a Q&A session. That's also an excellent way for you all to communicate and create that relationship with that business professional. In terms of a workshop, well, this is really important as well, because you want to create kind of a fun, engaging event. So if you were to schedule speakers every single meeting that you have for the next 2 to 3 months, you'd find that you would become very disengaged in terms of membership. So creating a workshop such as, I don't know, walking into a room with several different items and challenging your students to ideate and find new ways that these items can be sold and pitched is a really great way for you to actually create those idea and aha moments for your students. You want them to see something come from nothing into something, and that's what entrepreneurship is. So creativity exercises are key. This is something that you can do with local business professionals, but I strongly recommend that it's just something you and your chapter leaders do at the student level. You can Google any type of creativity exercise and come up with something that would be most meaningful to the organization. So the workshop and the speaker series really work in tandem. I suggest doing one and another every other month. The final thing I want to say about that is a lot of your campuses already host a speaker series, be that at the College of Business or within your entrepreneurship center or academic program. And if that's the case, work closely with the director of those programs and find ways that you can encourage the type of message that you're looking for and also create attendees for those departments. 9 times out of 10, they're a pretty recognizable name, and it's a great way for you to connect with them on a higher level, and it helps alleviate some of the pressure on your CEO chapter to go ahead and plan this entirely on your own. So the final thing in terms of our overall design here, as you can see, we have a foundation and kind of a protective structure, is our executive team leadership. And this is 100% back to what Stephanie said. You need to think in terms of succession planning, and that is not just the overall challenge of finding students, but it's also, hey, where are you sharing all of your files? Is everything in a system that can easily be transferred? Are you registering as a student organization every year? Have you set up a budget for next year? Have you run that through the student government office? Have you talked to your director of your academic program? These are ways that you can continue to create continuity and succession planning by very simply just changing the way you operate. So instead of emailing out a flyer, make sure you save it in a place that it's going to withstand the test of time. We have a file sharing system available to all of our chapters. That is something that's on the membership platform, and I'm going to talk about it in a little bit. But really important documents should be shared there, because what we find is that a lot of our CEO chapters kind of go like this, and we see an ebb and flow experience, and all of the hard work that you do on your campus to grow the organization and to make it a success is for naught if you have not planned for the succession model. So in the event that you were to do all of this work and you put everything in the right place, and we had copies of that documentation in our file sharing system, we could very easily transition it to a new leader that may have seen a lapse in overall organizational design for the past year, but wants to revive the chapter. So just keep in mind to utilize those file sharing resources available to you so that we're able to step in and provide guidance should we need to. Also, at the executive team level, you want to create some type of mentorship. And we hear a lot of times that freshmen and sophomores are very engaged with the CEO chapter and the overall design of the program. But then we find that juniors and seniors, especially after a transitional leadership period where you might have had a senior president and now it's going down to a sophomore or a junior, you'll lose that audience pretty quickly. So what we suggest is that you talk one-on-one with those older members that may seem less engaged or feel like the organization is not solving their needs, because maybe you have a large group of students that are just in the ideation phase, and they're not necessarily in a position where they are trying to, raise money for their venture or sell their next product or find new revenue streams. They're literally just coming up with an idea. So you have this big gap, and the best way to solve that is to utilize your more senior members, such as your juniors and your seniors that have gone through some entrepreneurial academic programming. Maybe they're entering their final coursework. Use those individuals as mentors to your younger students. Create a mentorship program and find ways that you're able to support those wide range of membership professionals in the overall dichotomy of your organization. The executive team really should focus on big vision, big picture, and translate kind of a work plan to the student members. And those student members in those respective committees should work backwards and elevate the executive team and elevate the organization as a whole. So that concludes what I'd like to talk about in terms of the success pillar documentation. If anybody has any questions regarding that, please, of course, feel free to tweet in. I'm happy to continue to monitor that for you. And the next thing I'd like to talk about is the overall web platform. Now, let me talk about this first. This is our upcoming global conference. It is going to be in Kansas City, Missouri. Giles gave some really nice figures of what we did last year. Because this is a centralized location, we fully anticipate that the attendance will be closer to 1,000 to 1,200 attendees. Because of that centralized location. When we're on the coasts in terms of California, Florida, East Coast, it's often a lot more difficult for all of our students to travel to those respective areas. So this upcoming event is navigating the entrepreneurial ecosystem. As some of you may know, the Kauffman Foundation, which is a major player in terms of entrepreneurial design, is actively involved, and they are trying to find new ways to measure and find interesting connective pieces in terms of the entrepreneurial ecosystem. So that all is happening in Kansas City, Missouri, and it's a very, very innovative location. So we're very excited to be going there. And in terms of what you can expect from that conference, we'll host awards programming for the chapters as well as for our individual leaders. We also provide a wide range of chapter development programming in which our students actually work with their peers to discover new topics and then see some of the success factors that they're implementing on their campus. We'll host a pitch competition as well, and that's highly competitive. And the pitch competition has about 200 to 300 applicants every year, with the overall objective of reaching 60 when we actually get to the event. So we do a lot of predetermination in terms of the quality of the venture, the quality of your submission, and we utilize a 1, 2, 3 system. 1, absolutely admit. 2, if we have space, and 3, the concept is just not a perfect fit for our program. So definitely utilizing the resource of the pitch competition is a great way to fund your venture. And of course, we always are finding new ways to provide extra value to our winners of that program as well. So that wraps up the global conference, which will be again November 1 to the 3rd of 2018 in Kansas City, Missouri. And it's a great opportunity for you to really understand what other students are doing on their campus, how successful the CEO network is, and what it means to be part of CEO. So definitely try and make that a priority for this year. So I want to dive in now to the web platform, and we've done a lot of work here to get this to a point where we're really supporting our members. And a few things I want to address right off the bat. We have our Manage My Members component here. If you are not utilizing your master account, you will never be able to gain access to Manage My Members. So for those of you who understand the master account, I'm sorry, I'm going to go over it again. The master account is always held in the hands of the faculty advisor. We find that there's less turnover between the student presidents in regards to the faculty advisor. We also suggest that the faculty advisor share the login information with our student president. So, with that being said, the student president becomes able to directly manage their membership. And with that, you're able to share an institution-specific link to allow all of your students to gain free access to c-e-o.org. They're also able to register for discounted events and pull down any type of our resources that we have uploaded to the network. You're also able to just take an Excel grid and upload that and click send as well. But most importantly, you want to be able to access these resources, and you want to make sure that each and every one of your members has a sign-in. Without that, they can't really engage with CEO on a national level. So this is actually what Manage My Members looks like, and you would get here just by clicking Manage My Members all the way at the top of the screen, and you see here My Sub-Accounts. So this happens to be the University of Tampa. They are a large size chapter, so they currently have 100 seats available to them, and 40 of those seats are available. So a total of 60 of them are taken. And you'll see that they have here a direct link, so you can copy and paste this direct link, and any of your members could register specifically with the University of Tampa, or you can go ahead and invite new members by copying and pasting a list that you might have and clicking Send Invite. What you can't see here is if you continue to scroll down, it's going to show you the last time one of your members accessed the platform. So if you're looking in terms of, hey, how can I see how many members are coming to my events? Just have them log into CEO or c-e-o.org right at the beginning of your meeting, and you'll see who's there and who isn't. For somebody who hasn't been there for several months, you can suspend their account, or you can completely remove them from the institution membership. So definitely utilize this as a resource. It's available to you. There's no additional charge, and it's a great way for you to manage your individual members. It also creates a directory listing, and we do have a live directory on our system. So any member at any level is able to search by location or by name or by institution to connect with another member, and we have a messaging system built into the software as well. So the next thing I want to talk to you about is our resources that are available to all of our chapters. And the first area I want to discuss is our branding guide. So here you will see an anti-discrimination statement. You're going to see a chapter PowerPoint, email signature guidelines, sample flyers for your meetings, which you can actually download and edit. And we're also going to provide you with merchandise for your chapter. So we have a great relationship with a promotional products company known as ATX Promos and Ali Specialties. They have done all of the promotional products here that you see, and we have all types of apparel, we have padfolios, we have wonderful graduation cords, pop-up banners, anything that you'd like is available to you at negotiated discounted pricing. So this is an excellent way for your chapters to present themselves on campus and provide a really nice presentation of how you'd like to be seen as an organization. We also offer a guide for social media best practices. This is an excellent way for you to really design impressive social media pages focused on ways that you can engage your students And we also offer posting for our chapters as well. So if you have a large event occurring on your campus, or you're looking for ways to fundraise, we can put that on our platforms, our social media channels, and help you spread the word. There is a submit news section right here down at the bottom of the resources. If you were to utilize that link, that would come directly back to headquarters, and we'd work with you on that promotion. So that wraps up the branding guide. The next thing I really want to talk about is the Career Center, but I'm going to hold off on that because I have an entirely separate, different slide. We offer a chapter handbook, which is about 60 pages of knowledge. This was developed several years ago, so the content isn't brand new, but it is designed around a unique student organization model, such as CEO. So definitely utilize this if you're having struggles engaging members or creating a community on your campus. In terms of what is additionally available to you, we always post our past conference speaker videos. So we have our more majorly known speakers, such as our keynotes, recorded for every session, and they are available here. We also have our initiation guide, which is a 30,000-foot view of the organization. It contains our membership agreement and just a really nice overall understanding of what CEO is. If you have not read the initiation guide, I suggest you go to that. It's definitely going to help with your overall development of a successful chapter. We also have a planning guide, which you should utilize at the beginning of each of your academic years. We have our Success Pillars document, which is this infographic. And on the second page of this infographic, we provide very clear descriptive narrative as to how you can understand this piece. So a lot of what I discussed today comes directly from that, so you can actually utilize that as a resource and a reference from today's conversation. We do offer a live stream webinar as well. So right now we're live streaming from our headquarter office. We do this in partnership with future founders and self-employment in the arts. So oftentimes we're not just here, we can be anywhere. And our objective with that is in the event that you have a meeting but you don't necessarily have a speaker, or you'd like to plan a meeting around one of our live stream webinars, you can do so here. And we have the past webinars posted, and then this is where you would find upcoming webinars as well. And thanks to the Acton School of Business, which is an AACSB accredited graduate level college, the overall takeaway here is that we have an entrepreneurial boot camp. It's a 90-day online entrepreneurial boot camp. You can proceed at your own pace, but for those of our campuses that don't have academic programming in entrepreneurship or are lacking a very diverse overall education or offerings in those courseworks, you are able to go through this, and it's a very interactive program. We're so thankful that Acton has provided that to us. And the last area of focus here is our Career Center. So this is jobs.c-e-o.org. And what's really nice about this is corporations will pay CEO to recruit our student members. So a lot of the positions you'll see here are specifically looking for entrepreneurial minds, which is an excellent opportunity for each of you. And they offer internship postings as well as career postings for after your graduation date. And we also have resume review. So this is a national career board. You can select any location to find a wide variety of positions available to you. And in terms of our resume review, you're actually able to upload your resume, and a live career agent will come back to you with guidance on your resume and what you have on it and ways that you can improve it. So I just want to hang out on the call here for another 3 to 4 minutes to see if anybody has any questions. Feel free to tweet those in. Again, you can do so by #AnnualCEOMTG. And I'll just hang out and see if we have any questions. And I want to thank everybody for joining us today. This is very new for us. So again, we're soliciting any type of feedback that you might have to make this more meaningful for you. Again, we're so thankful for Giles, Becky, and Stephanie joining us as well. And I'm going to mute my mic, but if you have any questions, I'll come back on. Thanks so much. So, Andrea, this is in response to your question regarding annual conference fees. So that's a really great question, and it's something I wish I touched on while everybody was on the call. There are several different ways that you can work your way to successfully affording the conference. The most meaningful is, of course, finding ways on your campus that you might be able to appropriate student government or your dean of your college to provide some fundraising guidance. In most cases, universities and colleges do provide funds for students to travel to academic conferences such as our own. What we typically suggest is that you find good partners to go with and encourage students to bunk up. So our conference, the actual room rate is $179. So that's per night, and that's up to 4 students in a room. So that 179 number can be added up for 3 days, since it's a 3-day event, and then divided by 4, which really helps lower the cost of the overall conference. We also charge a fee. Now, if you register before September 30th, the fee is $235 per student. That does include breakfast, lunch, and dinner on Friday, a hearty welcome reception on Thursday evening, and breakfast and lunch on Saturday. The conference ends Saturday mid-afternoon, so we don't have a lunch opportunity a dinner opportunity available there, but it is a great opportunity for you and your students to safely explore the overall community, such as Kansas City, Missouri. So if you have any additional questions in terms of the cost of the conference, please feel free to send me an email.